Start in 1 Kings chapter 18, verses 41 and the following. It says, and Elijah said to Ahab, go up, eat and drink, for there is the sound of abundance of rain. So Ahab went up to eat and to drink, and Elijah went up to the top of Carmel, and he bowed himself down upon the earth and put his face between his knees and said to his servant, go up now, look toward the sea. And he went up and looked and said, there is nothing. Elijah said, go again 7 times. And at the 7th time, the servant said, a cloud as small as a man's hand is arising out of the sea. And Elijah said, go up, say to Ahab, hitch your chariot and go down, lest the rain stop you. In a little while, the heavens were black with wind-swept clouds, and there was a great rain, and Ahab went to Jezreel. The hand of the Lord was on Elijah. He girded up his loins and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel, nearly 20 miles. Now, again, if I was putting together a message, and I did, and I wanted to give you just a simple title, and I would just tell you to encourage your neighbor. Tell them, I can hear it coming. I can hear it coming. I can hear it coming. Because I just believe that God is about to send something. If anybody needs a little bit of help today, maybe this message will catch you before you fall. So we have to understand the context of the text. And I love this particular chapter. It really encourages me because there is some trials and tribulations that Elijah has to get to before he could even hear it coming. When we see the scripture and understand where it's coming from and the point of view, we see that Elijah is at this place where he arrives back with the people of God. And the people of God have gone through trials and tribulations, and the prophets of the Lord have been slain except 100 that they had to hide. And they hid them in the midst of all of this turmoil and challenges. So Obadiah took 100 of the prophets and he hid them, and then Elijah shows up. And when Elijah shows up at this place in turmoil. Have you ever walked into a room and there was a lot of things going on and you didn't know what was going on? You ever showed up at your job and like everything broke before you got there? And it's up to you to fix it. They're relying on you to do all the work. Maybe you've never been there before, but to the 3 of us in the room that have ever had to settle some things that were unsettled when we walked in the door. Have you ever had to show up at a family's house after a great loss and you're the only one who knew Jesus? You're the only one who prayed. You're the only one who stayed. You're the only one who knew Jesus for real. And your prayer life was not just yielded to praying over your food. Elijah shows up after all of these people were slain and not in the spirit. Elijah shows up and there's this big challenge here, and it is what seems as an insurmountable amount of work to be done. It's 450 prophets of Baal followed by 400 prophets of the goddess Asherah. And little old Elijah has to encourage the people of God at a 850-1 deficit. Tell somebody that's when faith kicks in. Faith kicks in when I feel like I'm outnumbered. My faith kicks in when it feels like the devil might get me this time. My faith kicks in when it seems as though the numbers are so great that I can't even count them. But just because I can't count how bad it is does not mean I can't count on God. I know I can count on God when I'm going through my trials and my tribulations, my ups and my downs. So Elijah stands there and he gets there and he talks to the people and he says, I see that the trend is moving in this direction. I see that the trend is moving to follow Baal. I see that the trend is moving there because I was not here to defend God. Now I'm here to defend God. I need to ask you this question because many of you that are watching this fight have not joined in yet. Many of you have not made your decision yet. Many of you are still pondering if God is still real. The people of God are pondering if God is still real. Seems familiar because I know a lot of Christians that call themselves Christians. Whenever trials and tribulations hit their lives, they ask themselves the question, is God still real? Is Jesus still real? I know we sing the song, For I Know, oh. Jesus is real, but when the rubber meets the road and the trials are daunting and the tribulations are constantly hitting, the hits haven't stopped coming, do you still trust God? And Elijah shows up in front of all of this situation and talks to the folk that are riding the fence. Truth be told, there are probably some folk that snuck in church today that are riding that same fence. What do I trust and who do I trust? There's some people that are watching right now wondering, what do I trust in this season and who do I trust in this season? Pastor, you don't know how my bills have been stacking up and I've been trying to trust God, but these bills are constantly coming in. Pastor, you don't understand. Every time I turn around, another family member is in the hospital. How do I cope in this season? I am ready to give up. I'm sitting on the fence. I'm ready to pull my hair out. I'm ready to just call this thing quits. And Elijah asks the fence sitters, he says, how long, verse 21, Elijah came near to all the people and said, how long will you halt and limp between two opinions? Ask your neighbor, can you make up your mind? Because sometimes we be of two minds. Whenever you're faced with a problem, you be of one mind to cut and cuss, and the other mind to pray and fast. See, I know I'm in the right place now. I do pastor on the east side. I know y'all. Sometimes you're caught between two opinions. Which way should we go? Should we just draw back because it's too big for us? Or should we plow forward because God is bigger than the it that we're up against? How long will you be indecisive? Now, maybe you don't struggle with places of indecision, but I believe if you're really honest with yourself, you probably struggle with that more than anything else. Indecisions creates inactivity. When I don't decide to move forward, I decide to stay still. And then we get stuck in the same position and we wonder why nothing is changing. Nothing is changing because you haven't changed. Maybe things would change if you changed. Maybe things would be better if you made the decision for things to get better. How long will you be, it says, halt and limping in between two opinions? You go over here and you believe this for a minute, and then you get beat up, and then you halt, limp over here, and you trust this for a minute, and then something happens, and I'm going to church this year, y'all. I'm going to church this year. But the first time somebody say boo to you in the church, I'm going to stay in the world because the world know how to treat people. Does it? Does the world know how to treat people? I would submit to you, spend some time on social media, and you tell me how much the world really loves you. You make one mistake and see how quick people cancel you. So don't tell me that the world loves you. But we get caught between two opinions because one person in a church of thousands looked at you on a bad day and walked past you. Didn't say nothing to you, just walked past you. Oh my God. I can't believe the church. The whole church. One person can blow it for the whole church. But one bad person at a drive-thru don't stop you from going to Wendy's. One bad person on other end of customer service does not cause you to switch who runs your cell phone bill. But one church person, I'm church hurt. The whole building hurt you? I mean, the whole church hurt you. I mean, the whole church hurt you. I'm just saying, y'all. I'm just saying. I got good knees, too. Okay, back up, see? Because some of y'all have been still down there. I've fallen and I can't. Yeah. Better go to the gym. How long you'll be caught between two opinions? How long are you going to limp between two opinions? How long are you not going to give God all your trust? You trust God to an extent. You trust God to an extent. But God says, I need you to trust me completely. And Elijah comes back and says to them, he says, how long are you going to call yourselves Christians and don't follow the Christ on the cross? How long you call yourselves Christians? And every time you come up with adversity, you're doing everything that Jesus wouldn't do. So Elijah says, how long are you to keep limping? Because you're not whole if you're limping. How long are you to keep limping? Because you're still damaged because you're limping. How long you keep limping between two opinions? If God is really God, follow him. If Baal is really God, follow him. If this idol you're following is really God, chase it all you need to. Just make a decision. Don't act like Jesus is real only until you have a problem. Then Pastor, you know, I can't come to church in this season. I got to find 7 jobs. I said, but if you paid 1 tithe. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Ain't gonna hurt nobody. We dance. You're trusting the wrong things. If you could only give and tithe and give an offering when you got a lot of money, then where is your trust? Tithing, when it hurts, shows trust in God. See, I knew I was going to get 3 claps that day. Does believing God for healing only count when you have a cold? Or does it count when you've coded? So we need to stop kind of believing God. We show up to church and we kind of believe God. I kind of believe my God will supply some of my needs according to a lot of his riches and glory. Because we misquote scripture. We just try to justify. God never said. No, he did. He said he shall supply all your need according to his riches and glory. He said that. It's in the word. It's in the book. It's in the book. So if I know what's in the book and I trust what's in the book, I need to trust it even when it does not compute. When it doesn't make sense to trust, I still trust. Elijah confronts these false prophets 850 of them he's talking to. He's specific and highlights 450 of them, half of them. 450 of these so-called prophets of Baal, he confronts and says to them, he said, let's put it to a test. All of y'all get a bull and put it on the altar, put some wood under it, prepare it. You could go first, since it got to be, your God got to be more powerful than mine because it's more y'all than it is in me. So y'all go first. And I want you to call on the name of your God. Call him Baal. Call Baal. Call the Balboski. And call him and have him answer by fire. Because whoever answers by fire first is the God. And y'all can go first. So they start calling Baal, 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 Baal. Oh, Baal, come on down. Send that fire down. Consume it. And they were calling him from the morning to noon. For 6 hours. They was all taking turns. There was 450 of them. They were taking turns every couple of minutes and nobody else would change. Baal! Baal! Take a turn. Hey, man, you need to call him because my voice getting a little. Baal! But Elijah has swag, y'all. Elijah comes back and says, call a little louder. Maybe your God is musing. In other words, maybe he's playing some video games or something. He's playing, what's the name of the game we used to play all the time? Mama, what's that game you used to play? The fruit one? No, on your phones. Candy Crush. Thank you. Something. I knew it was something. Is Baal playing Candy Crush? Is he watching Netflix? He's musing. Is he amusing himself? What is he doing? They say that they ask him all these questions, right? And he's asking them, he says, hey, could it be? He stepped away. That's what they said. Did he go on a journey? Or maybe he is sleeping. See, God is never musing. God is never playing games. God is never on a journey because he's omnipresent. So he's never coming or going. He's always being. He never sleeps and he never slumbers. But this God, this false God, see, what you believe, when you put it to the test, you will see what it really is. When you really put the horoscope to the test. So see, now y'all want to. When you really put that sage to the test, did it really clear out your spirits, or the same spirits is in your house? You got to, we got to light another one. Come on. You got to get these spirits out of my house. And if they still in your house, if Baal be Baal, follow it. I know I'm messing with some of y'all beliefs. I know. I don't care, because I need you to understand who God is. If we start doing all of this stuff that everybody's done, and girl, you know, if you don't go walk around your house 25 times with that sage, you ain't going to get them spirits out of there. Now, if you just prayed in tongues one good time, one tongue defeats a whole pack of sage. Just one shando. All you got to do before you get the rest of the sentence out, demons are trembling. They ain't leaving it because of your smoke, because it ain't holy. It's strange fire. Okay, okay. Keep playing with God. Keep playing with them spirits. Keep thinking them old wives' tales are true. Keep thinking that that what they tell you is true. If it's true, just completely follow that. But if God is real, follow him. These jokers, if you look at it from the outside, 450 people to 1. The 450 got to be right, don't they? The crowd got to be right, don't they? No. Look at the results. They kept calling for hours with no response. Elijah says, okay, my turn. He said, before I take my turn, get some water, pour it on the bull, and pour it on the wood. And pour it around, pour it to the point where it's overflowing into the trench that's surrounding it. Because God, the God that I serve, doesn't just answer when it's tough. Sometimes things have to escalate to a level of difficulty where God himself has to show up. Some of the stuff that we deal with, God said, you could deal with that. But if you really want him to show up in power, that level of difficulty is going to rise up. That's why some stuff ain't stopped yet. Because it's not arisen to that level where God himself is going to step in. I know you're frustrated, but it hasn't risen to that level yet. Tell somebody, it hasn't risen to that level yet. Hold on. Trust God. He's not musing. Hold on, trust God. He didn't leave you. Hold on, trust God. He's not sleeping on the job. But God said, listen, Elijah was like, let's make it more difficult because, you know, it's harder for something wet to catch fire. It's impossible for something wet to catch fire. So pours all this water out. And do you know why it's important to understand the importance of water? Because they were in a drought. Water was already limited. It was not in great supply. So they was taking this thing of high value and presenting it to God, trusting God was going to show up. So when he poured all this water on it and it's there and the other folks' barbecue failed. And you know, if it rains while we trying to barbecue, we think we can't barbecue because of man's fire. But they set it up, right? And then he calls on the name of the Lord. Elijah calls on the Lord. He says, Lord, my God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He says, I love it. I want to go back here. Let's go on the scripture. I just want to go to this because I just like the way he says stuff. Let's go to verse 30. Let's go to 30. It says, then Elijah said to all the people, come near to me. And all the people came near to him. And my Bible fell. Technical difficulties. All right, 30. Then Elijah said, all the people come near to me. And all the people came near to him. And he repaired the old altar of the Lord that had been broken down by Jezebel. Oh, that is so good. When the enemy just thinks he's taking down some things that God has built. When the enemy thinks it's time to rebuild your altar. Where is your altar at? Where's that place where you go to pray unto God? Some of us need to reestablish the altars in our homes that have been broken over time and we have neglected them. And getting to that secret closet in your house and praying and talking to the Holy Spirit and asking God to show up even after some things have been broken. So then Elijah took 12 stones according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord came, saying, Israel shall be your name. And with the stones, Elijah built an altar in the name and self-revelation of the Lord. He made a trench about the altar as great as would contain 2 measures of seed. The trench was made for seed. Remember that. He put the wood in order and cut the bull in pieces and laid it on the wood and said, fill 4 jars of water and pour it on the burnt offering and the wood. And he said, do it the second time. And they did it the second time. And he said, do it a third time. And they did it a third time, because sometimes one time isn't enough. The water ran out about the altar and filled the trench also with water. At the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice, Elijah the prophet came near and said, O Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known this day that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and that I have done all these things at your word. See, when you do what God's word tells you to do, if you've been in the Bible, so you know where I'm going here. If you do what God's word tells you to do, you can have a high expectation of what God is going to show up to do. When you have been obedient to God, obedience is better than sacrifice. When I trust God at his word to do only what God does, my expectation of God, of the outcome, elevates. Even though the difficulty escalates, my expectation elevates beyond the escalation. I am still trusting and believing God bigger than my problem, bigger than the level of difficulty. Hear me, O Lord, hear me, that this people may know that you, the Lord, are God, and have turned their hearts back to you. Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice and the wood and the stones and the dust, and also licked up the water that was in the trench. It would have been amazing if just fire would have started. But God said, I'm going to go a step further. I'm going to consume the entire bull on the blocks. Then he said, I'm going to take it a step further. I am going to consume the rocks and the wood until they turn to dust. See, God is not a God that half does anything. God is a God that when he does a thing, it's thorough. Not only, now that would have been impressive. I mean, goodness, if I saw God show up by fire and the bull burns up, that would have been enough for me. But then not only does the bull burn up, the wood burns up. Not only does the wood burn up, the stones. Do you know how hot a fire has to be to pulverize stones? And then not only all of that, all of the water that was on it and around it, he consumed it. He does all of that so that the people's hearts can be turned back to God. God does big things in order for big crowds to turn their hearts back to the big God. So don't tell me something is impossible. The bigger it is, the more opportunity is for people's hearts to turn to God. So they do all of this. And now, all of a sudden, all of the momentum that was in the hands of Jezebel, that was in the hands of these prophets of Baal, shifted. One move of God shifted everything. All it took was one move of God. Now, the move was a heck of a move, but it took one move of God to shift everybody's perspective. Now they know that they know who God is. And the prophets of Baal start cutting themselves. After God shows up, now all 450 of Baal's prophets go down to the brook, and Elijah slays them all. The fight was fixed. The moment Elijah's faith was fixed. See, you need to catch that. Some of y'all won't get that until you get back in the car. It was not a fixed fight until his faith was fixed. Some of you want to get into this thing and you say, well, it's a fixed fight, I've already won. You haven't won until your faith is fixed on winning. When you fix your faith, the fight becomes fixed. And when the fight becomes fixed, it does not matter what the odds look like. Elijah said, we are winning. Why? Because I'm trusting God in the middle of this crowd that does not believe him. Because what we're doing is bigger than that. So, we get to this point. Verse 39, when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces, and they said, the Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God. And Elijah said, seize the prophets of Baal, let not one escape. They seized them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon, and as God's law required, slew them there. Then we get to verse 41. And Elijah said to Ahab, go up, eat and drink, for there is the sound. I mean, after years of a drought, now there is a sound. And I often wonder, why now? Why now? Why did God answer now? It's because God was waiting on the seed. Let's go back. He told him to take the jars of water and to pour it on the sacrifice. Water. And it fell in the trenches where seed was supposed to be. Water. So when God received that type of seed, based on that type of faith, he responded accordingly. God responds to the level of seed you put in the ground. He put that seed, I told you, water was highly valuable. It was very scarce, but he trusted God with it. And when he poured it in there and God consumed it, which meant he received the offering, now he says, I hear the sound of the abundance of rain. I can hear it. I can hear the sound of the abundance of rain. I can hear it. But there's not a cloud yet. I hear it before I see it. When your faith has been elevated and God starts showing up on your behalf, push on 3 people, tell them, that's when you start hearing things. That's when people think I'm crazy. When I've seen God show up on our behalf and I've seen him show up in a big way, they say, "What? But Pastor, we can't see it." Yeah, but what you can't see is not going to mess up what I hear. Because what I hear ain't going to match what you see yet. Because what I hear in abundance. He didn't say I hear a little raindrop. He did not say I hear some sprinkling. He said I hear the sound of the abundance of rain. Push on somebody, tell them, can you hear it? I mean, that you've been waiting years on. Can you hear it? I mean, that everybody else gave up on. Can you hear it? That once dream that you had, that you believed God for, that got shelved because you went through some trials and tribulation and had to put it on the back burner. But can you? And not just a little bit of it. I mean, a whole lot of it. I mean, a whole lot of it I'm hearing. I'm hearing it while I'm driving. I'm hearing it when I'm walking. I'm hearing it. It's abundance. It's loud in my ears, and it's relentless. It is not stopping. When God begins to birth that dream in you again, it's going to be relentless in your ears. It's not going to stop coming. It's not going to stop waking you up in the middle of the night telling you it's about to happen. He's not going to stop waking you up in the middle of your dream saying, get ready, get ready, get ready. It's not going to stop while you're driving in your car. It's not going to stop while you're at your job. It's not going to stop while you're on your break. It's not going to stop while you're at the gym. It's not going to stop while you're around your family and friends. You're going to keep hearing it over and over and over in succession. God's going to keep talking that thing up in you. He's going to keep raising that thing up in you. He's going to keep stirring that thing in your spirit. because it's coming. Can you hear it coming? Can you hear the sound coming? Can you believe that finally the buds on the branches are about to blossom and bloom? Can you believe that the thing you've been waiting and praying God for is about to manifest in this season? Can you believe and trust that God has something for you that's so big, he's going to keep reminding you of it, even in the face of doubters? Here's what I know. When Elijah tells his servant this, he tells him, he says, listen, I need you to hear me. He says, go up and eat and drink, for there is a sound of abundance of rain. So Ahab went up to eat and to drink, and Elijah went up to the top of Carmel, and he bowed himself down upon the earth and put his face between his knees and said to his servant, go up now, look toward the sea. And he went up and looked and said, there is nothing there. Can you hear it? Even when others says it's nothing there. There's nothing there to hold my marriage together. Can you still hear what God has joined together? Let no man put us under. Can you hear that over what others are saying is nothing? Others are trying to tell you it's nothing because they don't have the faith you have, because they can't see what you hear. Can you still have the courage of your conviction when you hear it and nobody else sees it? Can you have enough courage like Elijah did? Tells him, he says, no, go back and look again. He went back for a second time. Nope. Don't see it. He said, what? Something's got to be happening because I keep hearing it. Go back and look again. Third time. Come back. Nope. I know I'm not crazy. I know it's been a long time since we had rain, but I remember what it sounds like. I know it's been a long time since I had peace, but I remember what it sounds like. I know it's been a long time since I've had no pain in my body, but I remember how it feels. I know it's been a long time since I had money in my pocket, but I remember how it felt. I remember how it felt. God is reminding me of the thing that I thought was lost. God is reminding me of the thing that's about to come into my life. God's reminding me of it, and you keep telling me it's nothing. Keep looking until you see something. Push on 3 people, tell them keep looking. Keep looking. I think you might be looking in the wrong place. You're looking in the wrong place. You're looking in the wrong place because I hear it. Maybe if you look someplace else, you'll see what I'm saying. But you don't see it yet. He's come back 4th time and a 5th time and a 6th time. I know by the 6th time Ahab was frustrated with Elijah, but Elijah said, go back, look one more time. And it was the 7th time. We know 7 is a number of completion. We know 7 is a number of times. And Naaman went down in the water and came up, and he came up clean on the 7th time. We know that 7 is a number of times that they walked around Jericho 7 times, 7 days, and all of a sudden the walls fell. There's something about when God says you've done enough. Let me show up for you. You've done enough. You've walked enough. You've dipped enough. You've looked enough. Now, because you have been relentless in your looking and your discovering, you kept looking until you found something. You kept looking until you saw something. You kept looking until something changed. You kept looking. See, Ahab could have gave up on the first time, but he kept looking until something changed. I don't believe that it was ever hidden from him. I believe that God said, I am not going to allow you to look in the right direction until you show me you're ready to look. Until you show me you're ready to see it. Because by the time he got to the 7th time, I'm quite sure he wanted to see something. I need to keep looking until I see it. I need to look. I need to see what you're saying. See what I'm saying? I need you to see what I'm saying. I need you to look again. Look again. And this time, don't look with your eyes. Look with your faith. Stop looking at the doctor's report. Look to the healer. Stop looking at your bills. Look to the Jehovah Jireh that is your supplier. Stop looking at all of the confusion. Look at the God of peace. Somebody yell, keep looking. And he looked. He looked. Go again 7 times. And at the 7th time, verse 44, the servant said, A cloud as small as a man's hand is raising up, is arising out of the sea. He was looking in the wrong place. Because your instincts will tell you that if rain is coming, I need to look there. But God said, I'm about to send something for you, and it's not going to come for where you expect. When I bless you in this season, it's not going to come from the people that you've been looking at regularly. It's going to come from an irregular place at an irregular time, from an irregular position. But if you just trust me, if you can just believe what's in your ears and stop crying about what's in your eyes. He said, I see a cloud raising up out of the sea, the size of a man's hand. It's small, but I hear abundance in the small things. I hear big things when I see little things. I see something little. It don't look that big, but I still hear abundance. See, I'm not going to overlook folk because they don't look big in this season. Because what God can do through you, he can do through you. I'm grateful that God don't measure us up like people do. Because people look at it, you got little hands. You can't produce nothing because you got little hands. And God said, no, I'm going to cause abundance to come through these hands. I am going to cause abundance to come from places you can't see. He couldn't see it because it was in the sea. So it rose up from the sea until he could see it. So he could see it now because it's rising. You were looking for it because you thought it was already up there. See, you miss me because you think that the only people that God's about to use are people that's up there. But God is about to raise up some folk. See, that's what am I talking to in the room? Folk that have been overlooked. He's about to raise up some folk that nobody has been paying attention to. He's about to raise up some businesses that nobody ever expected to be blessed. He's about to raise up a little church on the corner of Elmdale and Dickerson that nobody else was paying attention to. That's where I hear abundance. I can hear it coming. He said, the smallest of man's hand is rising out of the sea. And Elijah said, go up, say to Ahab, hit your chariot and go down, lest the rain stop you. In other words, you better get going because this rain that's about to come, you ain't never seen nothing like this before. What God is about to release, you ain't never ever seen nothing like this before. When God opens up heavens for you, baby, it's coming in ways you ain't never seen before. Can you hear it coming? He said, hitch up your chariot, get in your ride down there now because something is about to hit. And I can feel it, and I can feel the hand of God. The Bible says that God's hand touched Elijah. And Elijah outran the chariot. For how many miles? 20 miles. He outran horses. What does that mean? Here's what that means. Some people that got better situations than you. Some people that got more resources than you. Some people that got more money than you. Some people that got more opportunities than you had. Some people that look like they got better situations than you got. You're about to outrun them. Who am I talking to today? Do I got a runner in the room today that know that whatever God put in you is about to cause you to run and outrun everybody that had the head start, everybody that had more money, everybody that had better connections? God is about to cause you to run. Somebody yell, run. I mean, could you imagine outrunning a car for 20 miles? Not down the block, because it ain't accelerated yet. But I'm talking about at the height of his acceleration, that God's hand, when his hand touched you, you take off so fast that even jokers that had a head start can't hold you back, carry your water, because God is about to put a faith in you and a trust in you that's going to make you run in this season. You about to run in this season. I mean, when I say run, I'm not talking about a jog. I'm not talking about a sprint. I'm talking about sprinting to a marathon. He's about to cause you to accelerate, because you can hear it coming. You can hear it coming. Because there was something in you that caused a stirring. God saw your level of trust, even in very difficult moments, and says, because you trusted me with your faith, I'm going to trust you with my abundance. I can trust you. I can trust you because you trusted me first. Because you trusted me first. Because you decided to go in front of the enemy and declare who I am. Because you decided to, in the face of adversity, with adversity staring you in the face, you chose to trust. When the math wasn't mathing, you chose to trust. When the doctors came back with a bad report, you chose to trust. When the frustration in your household is all-time high, you chose to trust. And because you chose to trust God, can you lean over and hear it? Can you hear it? The it you have been waiting on. That God says, now I am about to show up in such a big way that after I show up, it's going to change everything. Here's what we see, though, right? So we hear that Elijah hears the sound of the abundance of rain. We hear that. We see him telling Ahab to get in the chariot and beat the rain. We hear that now God's put his hand on Elijah for him to run even right now, to outrun and outpace the horses, the chariots. But the crazy thing about it is, not a drop has even fallen yet. Not a single drop has fallen yet. He's just running based on what he heard. Some of us wait till we feel it before we run. He ran because he heard it, because faith cometh by and hearing by. Faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So I know I don't have to wait till I see it. I don't have to wait till I feel it. I just have to wait till I hear it. And once I hear it, I'm ready. Hearing it should get you ready. When you heard this word today, you should be ready. You should be ready for God to do exceeding abundantly. I can hear it coming. I can hear it coming. I can hear it coming. It reminds me of the song that I remember when I was, in high school. A Phil Collins song years ago, right? It simply said, I can feel it coming in the air tonight. O Lord. But I can hear it coming in the air tonight. See, y'all know I'm not the only one. I can hear it coming in the air tonight. Oh, Lord. See, when I can hear God moving and I can hear God shifting and I can hear God sending what I need him to send, I call upon the name of the Lord. He is the God of my salvation. He is my strengthener. He is my help. I look to the hills from which cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord. So I know when I hear God, I need to activate my faith. I need to activate my trust.